Today, I'm going to tell you a story about betrayal, resilience, and the quest for self-worth, a journey that began on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Picture this, a grand celebration, friends and family gathered to mark a significant milestone. But life had other plans for me, plans that would unravel the very fabric of my family and push me to my limits. So let me take you back to that fateful day and everything that followed. It was supposed to be my 18th birthday, a rite of passage, the threshold into adulthood. I had been dreaming about this day for months, planning every detail of the party. The house was decorated, the guest list was perfect, and I could barely contain my excitement. But as the clock ticked closer to the evening, something felt off. My parents were unusually tense, whispering behind closed doors, casting furtive glances my way. I shrugged it off, assuming it was just pre-party jitters. But then, at the last minute, my world was shattered. My parents sat me down, their faces pale and somber. "Honey, we need to cancel your birthday party," my mother said, her voice barely above a whisper. My heart sank. "What? Why?" I demanded, confusion and disbelief swirling within me. My father sighed, exchanging a glance with my older sister, Emily, who looked like she was about to explode. "Emily has been really upset about her trip being canceled," he explained. "She's been so fragile lately, and we think it's best to postpone your party." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you serious? My party is being canceled because of Emily?" My voice cracked with frustration. "What about me? What about my friends?" Emily stepped forward, her eyes blazing with anger. "If I can't be happy, then she can't be either," she spat. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. It was as if my entire existence was being overshadowed by her disappointment. My parents nodded reluctantly, agreeing to her demands without so much as consulting me. They even went as far as telling my guests that I was ill, trying to save face and avoid confrontation. That night, instead of celebrating my coming of age, I was left alone, feeling betrayed and neglected. I couldn't understand why my own family would prioritize Emily's tantrum over my happiness. It was the first crack in the facade of our seemingly perfect family, revealing favoritism and emotional manipulation that I had never fully grasped before. Days turned into weeks, and the weight of that canceled birthday party lingered. I couldn't shake off the feeling of resentment towards my parents and Emily. Finally, I decided I had to confront them about their unfair treatment. I waited for the right moment, choosing a quiet evening when the tension in the house was palpable. "Mom, Dad, we need to talk," I began, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and hurt. "Canceling my birthday party was wrong. You never even asked me how I felt about it." My parents exchanged uneasy glances. "We did it for Emily's sake," my father tried to justify. "She's been having a hard time and we thought it was best." "Best for who?" I shot back. "What about me? What about my feelings? This isn't the first time you've favored Emily over me." Emily, who had been silent up until now, couldn't contain herself any longer. "You think you're so special, don't you? Always getting what you want while I'm left in the dust," she snapped. "You're so spoiled and entitled." Her words cut deep, igniting a fire within me. "At least I'm not emotionally bankrupt like you," I retorted. The room erupted into chaos. My parents tried to mediate, but their attempts only highlighted the long-standing favoritism that had been festering beneath the surface for years. Voices were raised, accusations hurled, and the air thick with tension. In a moment of uncontrollable anger, Emily lunged at me, pushing me against the wall. I fought back, our physical altercation escalating quickly. It felt like years of built-up resentment were finally unleashed, leaving both of us bruised and breathless. My parents stood by, helpless and silent, their focus solely on keeping the peace for Emily, completely ignoring my pain and frustration. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, the door swung open, and in walked my grandfather. He was a stern man, always dignified, but his presence brought an unexpected calm. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his eyes piercing through the chaos. Breathing heavily, I took a deep breath and began to speak. "Grandpa, we've been living under your roof while you support us financially, and all you do is favor Emily. You've neglected me for years. She's always been the golden child, and I've been nothing but an afterthought." My grandfather listened intently, his expression unreadable. When I finished, he turned to my parents with a mix of disappointment and anger. "This is unacceptable," he declared. "Emily, your behavior is reprehensible. And as for you," he looked directly at my parents, "I've been supporting this family financially all these years, and this is how you repay me? By turning a blind eye to your daughter's emotional manipulation." Emily stammered, trying to defend herself, but my grandfather was having none of it. "You are the epitome of entitlement," he said harshly. "And you," he turned to my parents, "have failed both of us. I'm taking my support elsewhere. From now on, you'll answer to me." He then turned to me, his eyes softening. "You deserve better. You can stay with me from now on. You don't have to tolerate this any longer." In that moment, I felt a surge of vindication and relief. For the first time, someone in the family acknowledged my pain and stood by my side. My grandfather's intervention was a turning point, forcing my parents to confront their failures and the toxic dynamics that had plagued our household. Leaving my childhood home felt both liberating and heartbreaking. Packing my belongings, I felt a mix of emotions, sadness for the family I was leaving behind, but also hope for a better future. My grandfather drove me to his place, and as we arrived, I could see the support and warmth in his home. It was a stark contrast to the coldness I had felt living with my parents. Once we settled in, my parents approached me with what seemed like insincere apologies. "We're sorry you had to leave like this," my mother said, her eyes downcast. "You're strong enough to handle the neglect." I looked at them, my resolve firm. I need more than empty words. If we're ever going to reconcile, Emily has to move out. I can't live under the same roof with her anymore. My grandfather nodded approvingly. "She needs to understand the consequences of her actions," he affirmed. "It's time for both of you to take responsibility for your behavior." With that condition set, I began my new life with my grandfather. The transition was challenging, but his unwavering support gave me the strength to stand my ground. My parents' apologies felt hollow, and their attempts to mend things only underscored the depth of their neglect and favoritism. I knew I couldn't go back unless things truly changed, and deep down, I had no hope that they would. Life with my grandfather was a stark contrast to the turmoil I had left behind. He was strict but fair, teaching me the values of hard work and self-respect. However, the shadows of my past still loomed large. One afternoon, as I was leaving school, Emily followed me, her eyes filled with desperation. "You think you can just walk away and leave everything to rot?" she shouted, blocking my path. "You think you're better than me?" I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "If I can't be happy, then neither can you," I responded firmly. Her anger flared, and she lunged at me, trying to strike me. I dodged her attack, but she managed to push me against the locker. Before things could escalate further, one of my friends stepped in, pulling her away. "You need to let it go, Emily," my friend said firmly. "This isn't the way to handle things." But Emily wasn't done. "You think you're so perfect now? Just because Grandpa is on your side," she sneered. I stood my ground, feeling a surge of defiance. "I know who I am, and I won't let you or Mom and Dad tear me apart anymore," I declared. My grandfather, who had been watching from a distance, approached us. "This confrontation is unnecessary," he said, though his eyes supported me. Emily, seeing that she was outmatched, backed down reluctantly.
"Fine," she spat.
"But this isn't over." As she walked away, I felt a mix of relief and sadness. This was just another reminder of the toxic relationship we had, but it also solidified my resolve to move forward without letting her drag me down. I knew that standing up for myself was the only way to break free from the cycle of favoritism and neglect. Time passed, and the true intentions of my parents became painfully clear. They weren't interested in mending the broken family bonds. They wanted me back for the financial support my grandfather provided. One evening, as I was sorting through some old family papers, I stumbled upon a letter from my parents. Their words were cold and calculating. "We wanted you back only for Grandpa's financial support," it read. "Without your help, we're not sure how we'll manage." My heart sank. It was the confirmation I had feared. My parents had never truly cared about me. They were using me as a means to an end, exploiting my grandfather's generosity for their own benefit. The realization was crushing, but it also gave me the clarity I needed to sever ties completely. I made the decision to block them from my life. No more lies, no more manipulations. I blocked them before they could block me, I told my grandfather one evening, a sense of finality in my voice. It was the hardest thing I had ever done, but it was necessary for my own well-being. Living with my grandfather brought new challenges and opportunities for growth. He shared stories of our family's past, revealing truths I had never known. One evening, as we sat by the fireplace, he confided in me. "They wanted to give you up for adoption," he said quietly, "but we didn't allow it. I knew you were meant to stay." His revelation was both heartbreaking and empowering. It explained the depth of the neglect I had experienced and the lengths my parents had gone to for selfish reasons. As I processed this information, I began to forgive my grandfather for not stepping in sooner, understanding that he had his own burdens to bear. With his support, I started to heal from the wounds of my past. I threw myself into my studies, preparing for college and building a future independent of my parents' toxic influence. Each step I took towards independence was a step away from the pain and favoritism that had defined my childhood. 14 years later, I find myself reflecting on how far I've come. My parents are now ostracized by the paternal side of the family, their selfish actions catching up with them. Emily, too, has moved out and is living independently, still grappling with the repercussions of her entitlement and the loss of her favored status. As for me, I've built a life that I can be proud of. My bond with my grandfather remains strong, a testament to the resilience and support that truly matter. Grandpa is my favorite person in the world. I often tell friends, grateful for the unwavering presence he has been in my life. It's karma, I joke, knowing that his support helped me triumph over the adversity we faced together. Looking back, I realized that the pain and betrayal I experienced were the catalysts for my growth. They taught me the importance of self-respect, setting boundaries, and standing up against injustice, even when it comes from those closest to you. My journey wasn't easy, but it was worth every tear and every fight. In the end, I emerged stronger, more resilient, and ready to face whatever challenges life throws my way. My story is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is hope for healing and a brighter future. And as I prepare for the next chapter of my life, heading off to college and beyond, I carry with me the lessons learned and the strength gained from overcoming the trials of my past. Thank you for listening to my story. It's a testament to the power of standing up for oneself and the importance of surrounding oneself with true support and love. Remember, no matter how bleak things may seem, there's always a path to healing and a chance to rewrite your own narrative.